This story didn't happen to me. It happened to my math teacher back in the 1980s. When my teacher, let's call him Joe, was in 5th grade, he was homesick with mono. His parents worked during the day, so he was alone most afternoons. One day, Joe was sitting on the couch watching his favorite game show when the doorbell rang. Back then, you couldn't pause live TV, so he ran toward the door so he wouldn't miss anything. He peeked through the small window by the door and saw a man in his late 30s staring straight back at him. Joe jumped back, but since the man had already seen him, he slowly opened the door a few inches and asked, "Can I help you?" The man said he needed a pen and some paper. Annoyed and eager to get back to his show, Joe ran to the kitchen, grabbed a pen and paper, and handed them to him. As Joe tried to close the door, the man shoved his foot into the gap. "I need somewhere to write a letter," the man said. "Can I come in?" Joe was small, about 70 pounds, and too innocent to realize the danger, so he let the man inside. The man sat at the dining table and began writing. He crumpled up letter after letter before finally keeping one. He thanked Joe and left. Joe locked the door and threw the discarded letters away. Then the phone rang. It was Joe's dad, calling to check on him. Joe told him everything was fine, when suddenly the doorbell rang again. It was loud enough that Joe's dad heard it through the phone and told him to answer the door. Joe opened it. It was the same man. He said he wanted the letters Joe had thrown away. Joe ran to the trash, grabbed the papers, and turned around, only to bump straight into the man. The man had followed him inside. The man sat back down at the table with the letters. Joe slowly walked to the phone and told his dad what was happening. Suddenly, the line went dead. Joe turned and saw the man leaning against the phone, pressing down the button to hang it up, staring directly at him. Joe didn't know it, but since his dad had made the call, he could still hear everything on the other end. I'm not completely sure, but that's apparently how landline phones worked back then. When Joe's dad said he was calling the police, the man bolted out the door. Joe ran upstairs, locked himself in his parents' bedroom, and waited with a rifle until his dad came home. The man was arrested a few miles away. Years later, when Joe told us this story, he said, "That house was completely isolated. If my dad hadn't called, I don't think anyone would have heard me scream."